Welcome everyone, Dylan Gemelli here today with a brand new video for you. So today we're going to talk about Deca Durabolin or Nandrolone. Now, let me reiterate, I am not a doctor. So anything that I say in this video is for your entertainment purposes only, and what you do with this information is completely and utterly up to you. I'm not advising nor condoning you to use any of the things that we discuss. So let's get into Deca. Super highly requested video. Sorry I didn't do it sooner, but definitely let's get into it. Now, Nandrolone is one of the best known steroids in the history of bodybuilding, period. Now, it was originally synthesized in the 1950s, and the athletes using it found out extremely fast that there was a good use here for powerlifting, gaining strength, size, and it was just extremely powerful in general. Now, as far back as like the mid-1960s, Nandrolone actually was used in addition to D-ball or Dianabol and testosterone for like the ultimate and most commonly used bulking cycle still to this day. All right. Now, since Nandrolone works, for any athlete looking to increase the amount of steroids that they're using without increasing the side effects too much, because the side effects really are not as bad as people make them out to be. They're there, but not nearly what people say they are. It's been a favorite of so many old school bodybuilders especially, but still to this day a favorite amongst many. All right. Now, in simple terms, Deca allows you to use more, anabolics without having a significant increase in side effects. Now, trace amounts of Nandrolone have actually been found in the urine of pregnant women after the 6th week. So as a result, we know that it's possible for the human body to make, base Nandrolone, very little amounts, just a food for thought fact. It's nothing really big deal to make out of it, but just wanted you guys to know that. Now, Nandrolone is the base hormone, but it's better known under the trade name Deca Durabolin, which contains nandrolone decanate. Now, this particular preparation takes the nandrolone hormone itself and it adds a decanate ester chain to it. So the ester chain is attached during the actual manufacturing process, and what it does is it serves dual purposes. The main purpose is to make the hormone oil soluble so it can be put in an ampule or multi-dose vial. The second purpose of the ester chain then is the slow release of the steroid by keeping Deca from interacting with androgen receptors until the ester chain is then actually cleaved off by the enzymes in your body. So since nandrolone decanate cannot attach to an androgen receptor until enzymes within your body have cleaved off the decanate ester, it causes then the slow release into your system over many days. So for medical use, the ester's main function is to allow the hormone to actually be injected only once every 3 weeks. But bodybuilders are going to inject it weekly or often twice a week. Now, if you go to NPP, which is the short ester form of it, then you're looking at like an every other day. All right, so what is it? What is Deca Durabolin? Since the mid-1960s, Deca Durabolin has actually become a staple in most test and D-ball cycles, which is the main reason that Deca adds a lot of strength to a cycle without drastically increasing the side effects. All right, so when used with test and D-ball, Deca really adds weight to the cycle without a lot of stress on your system. All right, it doesn't add additional side effects when used with other steroids, but it should never, I hate to say never, I don't prefer it to be used alone. All right, some people out there stand by it and they've had great success with it, and I'm not going to argue with it. Then there's a lot of people that have used it alone and had the most miserable, terrible experience of their life. Now, some people could say it's because they misused it. They didn't run it, right, meaning they ran it too high, they weren't using supports, things of that nature. It's arguable both ways. I'm not the biggest fan of it, all right? But I'm not going to tell you that it's impossible either. I have some people that I respect that stand by it. And I also have some people that I respect that are completely against it. So I stay neutral. Why? Because I listen to both sides of the argument. Even though I'm not a fan of it, when I have people that I respect highly telling me that it's completely fine and they had a great experience with it, I do listen. All right? I'm not one of those people that thinks that my word is the end-all be-all or my opinion, because that's not how life works. So It can have some nasty side effects on its own. People will talk about Deca Dick, all right? And what happens there is the affected user is unable to sustain an erection. Now, this is due to the fact that without the stronger testosterone metabolites like dihydrotestosterone or DHT, the softer and much weaker metabolites from Deca are going to flood your receptors, and that's not going to leave you room for stronger androgens. Though you could use proviron in that instance, which a lot of people do, and that does help as well. So sometimes people will say that will offset this. For some people it doesn't work, and for some people it works great. I generally recommend you do run proviron with Deca anytime you use it, whether alone or with testosterone. Not only are Deca's weaker metabolites an issue here, though, when there's an absence of stronger androgens, but nandrolone itself can and will attach to progesterone receptors. All right, this causes side effects that only affect the user in the absence of, supraphysiological amounts of stronger androgens. Now, the best way to explain Deca Durabolin is that it's basically a progesterone-like hormone that actually builds muscle mass, strength, and to a lesser degree, it helps repair joints. Now, it shouldn't give you any bad side effects when used with stronger androgens that are going to mask and counteract possible problems from nandrolone. If you use it itself, all right, the bad side effects from nandrolone can possibly crush your libido, sexual desire, cause bloating, and possibly even gynecomastia. Now, how do you inject it? Well, since it's formulated using nandrolone decanate, which is one of the longest esters in existence, it's very oil soluble, the way all steroids with long esters are. So the easy solubility in oils means the manufacturers have to actually lower the percentage of solvents to manufacture the products. Then that makes for a less irritating shot. So generally Deca injections are done weekly by most bodybuilders or twice a week. Now, what are the doses here? Now, I personally never recommend going over 400 milligrams of Deca. Once again, I do know some people that do very well at 500 or 600 milligrams, and I do know some people that once they get over 300 to 400, they have the worst time known to man. For me, Deca's so strong in terms of what you can do with it that you're going to see a ton at 400, and you're going to avoid side effects that you don't need to endure and still get a lot of the gains from it. All right. If you add 400 milligrams a week of Deca to a test and D-ball cycle, you're going to be able to increase your overall steroid dosage without increasing side effects. So, for example, a bodybuilder taking, 500 milligrams of Sustanon per week, who felt that they needed more power in their cycle, for example, would find them with more side effects if they were just going to start taking more tests, so upping it to 750 a gram, things like that. All right, since tests aromatizes at an increasing rate at higher doses, there's obviously going to be an exponential increase in the likeliness of gynecomastia and estrogen conversion, water retention, etc., if more testosterone was added. When you add Deca to the testosterone cycle, you're increasing the total amount of steroids that your body's getting, but you're not adding all of these, undesired enzymatic reactions from aromatase and 5-reductase. So in simple terms, you're, able to use more compound without adding too much in the side effects department. I personally don't suggest women ever use Deca because the side effects are too variable from female to female, but that's really up to you. Now, people will often ask me, what about the testosterone to Deca ratio? Look, everybody's different. You're going to have some people that tell you never run Deca higher than test because you're going to be miserable, and then you're going to get vice versa. From what I've experienced the most in terms of the most feedback, what I've seen, what I've been around, Deca just a little bit higher than test seems to work well for most. It doesn't for some. I'm telling you right now, it doesn't for some. So what I generally say is keep them even, because then you're not pushing it either way. A lot of people like to get on these mind trip thing that, well, I'm going to get way more if I do one higher than the other, when in actuality, if you just keep them even, you really don't have to worry about it. But you have to test that for yourself and see what works for you. I can't sit here and say unequivocally that one way is better than the other. I can tell you what I prefer, but I can't tell you that it's a guarantee. And so you have to be careful when you're giving out information and saying that, because people do mix words and get confused. Now, side effects. Nandrolone should only cause adverse side effects to a certain degree. All right. First of all, it's a very suppressive. All right. Now, all steroids are suppressive aside from maybe Proviron, but that's something that you need to be aware of. All right. You know, when you stack it, side effects are a little different as well. You got to worry about other things that you're using. So Deca is usually stacked with test and D-bol. The problem is that testosterone and D-bol are known to cause major side effects like water retention and gynecomastia. So these effects stem from these steroids being converted into estrogen from testosterone. All right. Now, other side effects that these two can possibly display are hair loss. All right. And obviously we've got, you know, instances where it can affect your cholesterol suppression, things like that. Now, you have to worry about progesterone increases with Deca, right? So people will take Caber, Promi, or vitamin B6. Now, what I've found is that you don't need a lot of Caber or Dostanex when you're using Deca or a lot of Promi if you're under 400 milligrams. And if you're 300 or less, you can really get away with just vitamin B6. And some people even over 300 can get away with it. There's a small amount of estrogen conversion with Deca, but it's so small, it's not something that you really need to, you know, be totally concerned about. But obviously you're stacking it with testosterone, then, you know, it's something that comes into play. Like we were talking about the Deca Dick thing. That can come from the increases in progesterone, prolactin, things like that. It can also come from misuse, dosing it too high, not using Proviron with it, which I would highly recommend. So these are all things that you have to keep in mind. Like I said, I don't personally recommend going over 400 milligrams. All right? That's completely up to you. Other than that, the side effects on Deca get completely overplayed. Deca is extremely dry if you use it properly. Extremely. What's cool about it is being able to gain that size, that strength, without adding all of that water. But if you misuse it, you run tests too high, for example, not controlling your estrogen, misuse your Deca, don't run your supports, then you'll have the issues. The people that have the issues misuse it, misunderstand it. So just be aware of that. Length of time, 14 weeks generally, because it's such a long ester. This is what I'd go with it. But that's up to you. 12 weeks is also sufficient. I'd kick it to 14, you know. NPP, on the other hand, maybe 8 weeks. So there's the difference. So that's Deca Durabolin for you. I know it's a favorite amongst many, and with good reason. So that being said, www.isarms.com/forums. I'm also on the Elite Fitness Forum and the Evolutionary Forum. www.isarms.com is where you're going to get me the most. Now, you can also email me, dylan@isarms.com, with all your questions and comments. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That being said, stay tuned for plenty more to come. Dylan Gemelli, signing off.